Hello there. Hope you're well today. I wanted to talk about unmasking. There doesn't seem to be a manual about this. I found some good videos that have sort of step-by-step processes that you can follow, which look to be very helpful. But it does seem like this will be a lifelong endeavor because I've been wearing the mask for my whole life. It's been 37 years. So this will be a lifelong journey and something that I will have to put effort into all of the time, I think. But I just wanted to speak about starting that process. All of my life, I felt like I was just really good at acting or pretending to be normal. I would laugh at jokes that I didn't understand. I smiled when I was exhausted inside. I made eye contact with people when the very act of it was hurting my head so much that it might even cause migraines. And I didn't know this had a name growing up. I just knew that I had to pretend to try to fit in because I wouldn't be accepted as my true self. After being diagnosed and researching the hell out of autism, as autistic people do, we like to research. I now know that the term is masking or camouflaging, but I think the term that I'm going to use today is masking, just because I seem to encounter this a lot more. I wanted to speak about me taking the first step towards unmasking, and I think it will help if I just give a definition to begin with on what masking actually is. Here is the definition of autistic masking. Autistic masking, also known as camouflaging, is a coping strategy where autistic individuals consciously or subconsciously hide or suppress their autistic traits to fit in with neurotypical social norms. This can involve mimicking others' behaviors, suppressing natural behaviors like stimming, or adapting communication styles to appear more normal. While masking can help autistic individuals navigate social situations and avoid unwanted attention, it can also be incredibly exhausting and detrimental to their mental health, potentially leading to anxiety, depression, and burnout. So that is the definition of autistic masking, and I can relate to this very, very much. Especially this part here that says adapting communication styles to appear more normal. I'm sure that you noticed it in my previous videos, but I'm quite monotone. So it's something that I really have to put effort into, and it's a conscious decision every time I go into a conversation. So I really try and have more inflection, and I do an up and down, and I try to emphasize certain words so that it doesn't sound so out of place. Now that we have this definition, we can start the journey of trying to unmask. And like I said earlier, there doesn't really seem to be any sort of manual about this, although I have found a lot of good information from several YouTubers. One of them especially is basically 3 steps that you can take to begin this unmasking process. So step 1 is unmasking to yourself. So this is quite interesting because I have masked for my whole life, and it becomes really difficult to know who I am. And honestly, there's like a loss of identity there. I don't know what's me and what's the mask anymore because I've done this for so long. And it's like the mask is very much stuck at the moment. It's very difficult to shift, and I sort of fall into the pattern of masking without even realizing it. The concept of unmasking to myself is really quite interesting, and to be honest, I didn't realize that I was masking to myself quite so much. Even things like if I want to pursue a special interest of mine, I'll sort of persuade myself out of it. The neurotypical world is expecting you to be working right now, or to be doing this, or there are people around, or maybe someone can see you from somewhere. I don't know. You have this instant pressure on you of, is this okay? Is this appropriate? And I also noticed that I do unmask a certain amount when I'm on my own, especially when it comes to stims. I definitely stim more on my own, which is very helpful. But even then, I still put the mask onto myself. I will notice that I'm stimming, and I'll sort of slow it down or stop it entirely. because I think, oh, what are you doing? You shouldn't be doing that. What if someone sees you? So I already do unmask, but a very little amount. And I quickly mask again when I realize I'm doing it. It's like a reflex. It's so ingrained and it's such an intrinsic thing at this point. So it's going to be a very difficult process, and there will have to be a lot of introspection and self-awareness. The other thing that I can do to unmask to myself is to embrace the bad, such as stimming or needing to recharge or dealing with my sensory issues. It's not a positive thing that I like, but I do need time by myself. I need to have my quiet time to recharge. So even though it's something I don't like, it's something I have to accept. I can treat myself a lot nicer in that way. And I can notice, okay, I know you don't like this, but it's good for you. You need to do it. So that's one of the bad things that I can embrace on my own. The other thing is sensory difficulties. I've kind of started this process already without realizing it. But these are my best friend at the moment, and they have been for a few months. I wear headphones a lot, and it really helps with my sensory difficulties and managing my energy levels throughout the day, because being constantly bombarded by sound, which is my everyday life, it's just exhausting to an extent that I can't really put into words properly. I can't really articulate the depth of exhaustion that it brings me. So that's another negative thing that I can embrace, is I have sensory difficulties and it's fine to manage those. It's okay to wear headphones. If people think I'm weird, people think I'm weird. They're going to think I'm weird anyway. So at least this way, I will have more energy about myself and I won't be so burnt out at the end of every day. The other thing that I could embrace, but it's a bit difficult, I'm not quite sure how I can approach this one, it's my texture difficulties. One of the sensory difficulties I have is certain textures. I'm quite lucky in this sense because it isn't really like a super big issue for me, but for me it's like cold and wet things really just is incredibly stressful for me and exhausts me mentally if I have to deal with this a lot. So unfortunately that means things like showers. Showers are just like the worst part of my day. I have to face this issue every day of my life, every time I have a shower, unfortunately, but there's nothing I can do about that. It's something I have to do every day, so I have no idea how I'm going to embrace that. I'm not sure what that looks like, but I suppose that's something that I will discover through my unmasking journey. So all of that will fall under the umbrella of the first step, which is unmasking to myself. So this is something that I will have to begin, and I'm sure I'll make many more videos of it in the future. There are 2 other steps after this that have been recommended to me by a YouTuber. Well, not recommended to me, but it was in their video. And these are: try to unmask to a loved one or someone that's close to you, which I think makes total sense. You can make the internal external, and that's expression in itself. So you are beginning to express that to the world. So that makes perfect sense to me. And the third step is go public with it. So we will go more in depth into those steps once we reach those points. But I don't know how long that will take, because I feel like this will be a lifelong effort. It will be something I have to put effort into every day. But to be honest, I almost felt like, oh, that sounds tiring. But masking is tiring. I'm already tired. I'm already tired doing what I'm doing. So at least this way I can be more myself. And it might be more of a conscious effort that I need to make. But that's fine. I'm going to try step 1 of unmasking, which is to unmask to myself and to embrace the bad things, such as needing to recharge, sensory difficulties, and allowing my stims and special interests to just be. If I feel like stimming, stim. If I want to pursue a special interest, do it. I have realized that I mask a lot to myself, even when I'm on my own. So this is something that I can do, and I don't need the help of anyone else. So I'm actually kind of excited to see how it goes and what happens. It'll be nice to have a bit more expression. So if you're still watching, big thank you to you. Thank you very, very much. Please comment if you are also in the unmasking process, or if you have any questions, or if anything resonated with you. I would love to talk about this. The more information, the better, in my opinion. So I would love to hear more from people about this, because there really doesn't seem to be a consensus or any sort of manual as to how to do this. So I would just love to hear more. Thank you very much. I super appreciate you, and I hope you have a lovely day.